All right, it is recording now.
All right.
Should I count down again? 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right, episode 1, ACC baseball, etc. Not 100% sure how this is going to go, but we're just rolling the ball out and we're playing with it. I'm Daron Vaught. If you're not familiar with me, I am a play-by-play broadcaster, host, reporter for a number of outlets, including USA Baseball, the Durham Bulls, ACC Network Extra. So you'll see me / hear me on a lot of baseball broadcasts this spring. You'll see and hear a lot of Danny Graves as well. My guy, 2-time Major League All-Star, former pitcher for the Cleveland, Cincinnati, the Mets. Am I missing any in there?
No, that's it for big league teams. I did spend some time with the Minnesota Twins in the minor leagues one year, which is we won't talk about that, but
no, we're gonna. That's the thing. We're gonna, Danny. At some point, we will talk about that.
Perfect. I'm all right.
Former Miami Hurricane, of course. We cannot overlook that. And my USA Baseball ties inclined me to say also that you were a member of the collegiate national team, as an indicator of your great performance there with the Canes as well. But now with the ACC network, man, this is fun. I'm so excited. I mentioned I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm so excited to embark on this journey with you this season.
Yeah, I just got to thinking. Of course, I'm excited too, but we should have had the record button on from the beginning when I was trying to fix the camera and fix the lights and get everything situated so that we looked normal, or so that I look normal. We got to have a blooper reel at some point, right? Just a whole podcast, a whole episode of just bloopers.
I'll keep that in mind for next time. Yeah, for those, we are on YouTube, so that's a good segue into mentioning we're on YouTube. So if you're not watching us there and you're hearing us elsewhere, there is a video component. You are more than welcome to watch and listen as opposed to just listen, but we understand that the whole idea of podcast is sort of the convenience of it. So hi there if you're in your car or doing chores with your AirPods in or whatever. We're happy however you consume ACC baseball, etc. here. But man, it was a time. I could tell you haven't done your first ESPN hits of the year because you said you've got wires everywhere, the lights, and trying to figure out how hot we needed the lights to be. But it's all good. You're set up now.
Yeah.
And if I do say so myself, it's a clean look for our video setup here.
Well, just this square that I'm in is a clean look. If I move out of the square or move the camera, you're going to see how messy it is. But just this little box is all I'm worried about today, just getting this right.
Yeah. Just imagine it as like you've come set on the mound and you got to stay set for an hour while we talk about ACC baseball.
I got a little bit of headroom, so I can move a little, but that's it.
That's it. Give it just a quick look over to first or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got a big season ahead of us, right? The ACC again is set up to be a really, really good league in terms of the grand landscape of college baseball. 7 teams ranked in the D1 baseball preseason top 25. I'll list them off. Number 6 is Wake Forest. Kind of interesting, right? That the Demon Deacons are the top-ranked ACC team, but it stands to reason with some of the talent that they're bringing back and the depth that the Deacs have. It makes a lot of sense. It'll be interesting to see how they do. Number 12 is North Carolina, 14 Virginia Tech, 16 Louisville, 19 Virginia, 21 NC State, and 22 Miami. So sort of in a way, Danny, like all of the usual suspects in terms of teams that are typically good, right? And we know Virginia Tech now obviously has excelled their play and lifted themselves up into that bunch of ACC teams that is typically good. Now there are the stories like, Clemson's going to be looking for a bounce back. That's a program that is traditionally very good. Georgia Tech has had plenty of seasons, of course, where it's been top 25 worthy as well. It's a deep league. And aside from the SEC, which we promise we will not mention that often on this show, unless it is directly relevant to what we're talking about, Um, they've got 9 teams in the top 25, and part of that I think it's going to ultimately prove to just be sort of their reputation, right? These are preseason rankings, so a lot of it is reputation and anticipation based on previous results, right? So
Yes.
I think we can maybe expect sort of an evenly distributed bunch in the top 25 for both of these leagues. I mean, do you agree, right? I mean, 9 versus 7, it's still good. We'll take it.
Yeah.
But if by the end of the season there's 8 and 8 from each league, just like don't say we didn't tell you so.
Right. Well, so here's the thing, and I'm going to say it because I don't want you to say it and get yourself in trouble. But the thing with these rankings, and I love the guys that do the rankings. I love those guys at D1 baseball, but I think they're SEC guys. Like they favor the SEC, and they have, and I guess deservedly so. There's a lot of great SEC teams. I'm not knocking the SEC, but I think the ACC has been treated like the little brother for so long. People just kind of forget that there's a lot of great teams here in this conference. And will it ever be 8 and 8? I'm saying no, because somebody is always going to have the SEC with at least one more team than the ACC. But it is what it is, right? It's about being that one team at the end of the year. Last year, of course, it was an SEC team and a team that came out of nowhere. But people are sleeping on the ACC, and I think if you talk to each one of these teams and the players, they're okay with that. They don't care if the SEC has 20 teams or however many teams are in that conference. If all of them are in the top 25, great. We're going to show you guys that we know how to play ball.
Yeah. With that being said, I mentioned the 7 that are currently in the preseason top 25: Wake Forest, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Louisville, Virginia, NC State, and Miami. Is there one team outside of those top 7, Danny, that you think could make a splash or is best set up to make a splash? And I don't even know what I mean by that, right? You can put your own parameters on it. Do I mean, someone outside of that 7 that could finish the season ranked in the top 25, or you think will finish the season ranked in the top 25? However you might define it, is there someone outside of that 7 that you like?
Yes, there really is, and people might think I'm crazy, but I think Florida State is going to surprise a lot of people just for the fact that, and I know they lost their 2 best pitchers to the draft last year, but Link Jarrett, wherever Link Jarrett goes, he wins. He went to Notre Dame. He was at the other schools first. Then he gets to Notre Dame, a big D1 school, and he wins there. He gets his opportunity here at Florida State. And I know they're rebuilding there, and it's a part of the process of trying to get to know the players. He already knows that campus. He was a player there for so long. He brought his whole coaching staff. So you're not just going to go in and lose with the guys that you bring in. They still got some talent at Florida State. Like I said, minus the 2 starting pitchers that they lost, but they still have a lot of good players on this team. And I will never doubt Link Jarrett on the baseball field.
It's funny. There's going to be a little bit of a trend here, because my answer to that question is a team that also has a new head coach coming in who just seems to win everywhere he goes. Mm-hmm. I think Clemson is due for a big bounce back. And again, I'm going to preface that by saying I don't know exactly what I mean by that, right? Do they finish the season ranked? Do they contend to win the ACC? I don't know exactly what that means, but they've got enough talent for me coming back. Some sort of mainstays, right? They'll have Cooper Ingle as their catcher. Caden Grice is going to be there again. It feels like he's been there a long time. I got to know him a couple of years ago when he was traveling with us with the collegiate national team, and he grew a lot in his time. He struggled at the plate with the CNT and grew a lot that summer. Has grown a lot sort of through this valley that the Tigers have gone through. I just, again, with Bakich at the helm, it's hard for me to imagine a scenario where they're not at least very competitive on a week in, week out basis. So there we go. The couple of teams with with the new coaches, we both expect to be a little slept on early here.
Yeah, and both those universities, they just, it seemed like they needed a change, and of course, I'm very close with Mike Martin Jr. and I love the guy. I played with him on Team USA, played against him at Florida State, but I think they just needed a different culture, kind of like a culture shock, and bringing somebody a different voice in. And the same with Clemson. You bring Bakich from East Carolina. This guy wins. He just wins wherever he is, and I think these two teams, like you said, Daron, we're not saying that they're going to go out and be in the World Series and go to Omaha right away, but they're going to surprise a lot of people with what they do on the field.
Yeah, no, I think so too. It's and with Bakich, it's like he's been there recently with Michigan, and he's in the Tim Corbin coaching tree from Vanderbilt. He's just it's just so hard to imagine him going anywhere and it not working to some degree, and maybe ultimately the greatest degree, right? It's not beyond the realm of possibility he gets Clemson back to Omaha and playing for a College World Series championship someday. And
that's
Florida
why
State,
they brought him in.
Yeah, exactly, right. And Florida State, it's the same thing with Junior. It's he's got that pedigree. He's been there for their biggest runs when his father was their head coach instead. So no, I think it's fair to expect big things from both Florida State and Clemson. Maybe not this year, maybe not to the greatest degree, but at least soon. I think they're both due for some pretty big things.
Yes.
What about for the 7 in the top 25? And I'm actually, you know what? I'm not even going to preface it with that because that's presumptuous. Let me ask it this way: if you had to pick one team, Danny, from the ACC, one team that is going to make it to the College World Series, who do you go with?
So I don't want people to think that I'm just some little homer here because I went to the University of Miami, but this is the team, if I had to pick one, that's going to go to the College World Series. Of course, I if I'm not doing an ACC game or an ACC show, I'm rooting for Miami Hurricanes every day, all day. But of course, I have to be partial when I'm doing shows. But this is, to me, it's a no-brainer just because of who they're bringing back. They were so young last year, and I think they surprised a lot of people on the way that the season went. They just kind of ran out of gas towards the end of the year. But we talked about it before we came on. Like they really lost one stud, and Carson Palmquist. He's the only guy that they lost really from that team. They bring in a lot of people back. Their bullpen with Andrew Walters at the back end. He's ridiculous. He might be the best reliever in all of baseball, in my opinion, in all of college baseball. So I think they have a lot going for them. But it's about experience. They got a lot of guys coming back. So I think they're going to be the team to beat.
Yeah, I was so worried I was going to have to explain away. It is our first episode. You are a former Miami Hurricane. I guess you're always a Miami Hurricane. You're a former Hurricanes player. I was so worried I was going to have to explain away, like, oh no, I'm just pandering to my co-host. They're my pick too. And Danny, I'm shocked, honestly, when the preseason rankings came out. You can only put so much. You touched on it. You can only put so much stock into preseason rankings. But that they're the 7th of the 7 ranked ACC teams is kind of mind blowing to me. I mean, they, aside from Palmquist, they're bringing basically everyone back, and it's not like they've got schmoes that are coming back, right? I mean, you talked about Andrew Walters. I think he's the best reliever in college baseball.
Yeah.
Carson Ligon is a capable starter that they had success with on the mound last year. Alejandro Rosario. It's funny, man. When I did the Miami at Duke series last year, and I have some scouting friends that I just ran into, a couple of them for different teams. One's an area scout for the St. Louis Cardinals. And I ran into him in the elevator at the DBAP, Durham Bulls Athletic Park, where Duke plays some of its home games. And anytime I see someone like that, I'm curious to know, hey, I know obviously generally what you're doing here, you're scouting. So I usually ask, hey, who are you here to see? Who are you keeping an eye on today? Because there's always whether they tell you or not, there's always something like they're there for a specific reason. And this friend for the Cardinals at the time, because Palmquist was set to start, and I was like, Palmquist is starting. Marcus Johnson was starting for Duke, so I figured that was a possibility as well. I know Miami's got Yoandy Morales, who's an incredible hitter as well.
Who's coming back, by the way?
Who's going to be back, right? And Yo-Yo might be a contender for ACC Player of the Year as part of this conversation building up Miami. Well, my scouting friend, I'm here to see Rosario, and it was like, I know he's good. I know he's got the juice, but it was really interesting to hear that an area scout for a major league franchise was there specifically to see Alejandro Rosario. And it was indicative to me of, okay, this dude's got stuff. He's got absolute big league stuff. And he's had some issues maybe harnessing it at times, but he's back. And I think he's going to have a big year for them. They just, everybody, and I think I've told you too, my love as a former utility infielder and shortstop, I love Dominic Vitelli. Vitelli might be my favorite player in the conference.
He's smooth, isn't he?
Well, and it just so happens that series that I called, he had the 2 grand slams and like the best weekend any hitter had in the entire ACC season outside of the conference tournament where, and I'm overlooking a certain former ACC player who had some big weekends early in the season. If you're an ACC baseball fan and you have decided to listen to us, you know exactly who I'm talking about from the first couple of weekends of last season. We will miss him because he was quite the player. But we can see him some on other networks. And
there's a bunch of really good players in this conference, though. I think people will not be disappointed. There's some potential superstars that are coming out of this conference this year. And CJ Kafis is another guy at Miami, leadoff hitter, first baseman. I think he gets overlooked a lot too, just maybe because he's in the leadoff spot. He's not your typical leadoff guy that is playing first base, but he gets on base. He's on base like 2 or 3 times every game, it seems like.
Yeah, and they've got him. Villegas had a good stretch toward the beginning of last year and fell off a little bit, but picked it back up toward the end of the year. Dorian Gonzalez Jr. is back. Like basically the entire team is back except for Carson Palmquist, who again, not to be dismissed as not a big piece. He was their ace, but they should be good. And I was really surprised to see that they were just 22nd, given what they have coming back.
I still wish that Palmquist would have stayed in the bullpen. I mean, I think his draft stock would have been higher if he'd coming out of the bullpen. But he wanted to be a starter. I don't know why. I don't know why these guys always want to be starters. You make money as a bullpen guy too.
Coming from a guy with 180 some odd major league.
Could you imagine if they had Palmquist and Walters at the back end last year?
Oh man, give me honestly.
Game's over after 5 innings.
Yep. Give me Palmquist 6-7, and Walters 8-9 all day. Will we get a cat? We get a third co-host here?
Dude, it's unbelievable. This cat, anytime that I'm on TV or on the air doing something, she jumps up and sits right there. She usually sits there longer. She'll probably be back again before the episode's over.
Nice. Good.
It's unbelievable. She pushes the door open and comes right in.
Hold on. What's the cat's name?
Her real name is Coco, but I call her Dum Dum.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Coco / Dum Dum.
That's right.
Just so I can shout her out anytime she comes on. She's going to be an integral part of this show. I can tell.
Oh, she will. You'll see. She'll just plop up there like she's like an owl, like protecting me from all the extra like varmints that come around. It's so bizarre.
All right, would you mention the jump from bullpen to starter for a guy like Carson Palmquist? Duke's Marcus Johnson did it last year too. They're set to have Adam Boucher do it for them this year. I just saw they released their, at least for the start of the season, what their weekend rotation is going to be. He's going to be their guy on Saturdays. In an interesting development. We've seen a lot of this sort of back and forth with key pitchers over the past few years in the ACC. I spoke with Elliot Avent of NC State a couple of days ago, and it's just about, getting a primer on where things are with the Wolfpack season. And I'm based in the Triangle of North Carolina, so I'm closer proximity wise to Carolina, Duke, NC State, Wake Forest. Those sort of are where my strongest ties are. So I was talking to Elliot about his rotation and what that's going to look like. And in a bit of a surprise to me, Danny, Sam Highfill is going to be their bullpen guy. They're going to use Sam Highfill as like their Chris Villeman type this season. Wow. At least that's the plan, right? Because with NC State, we know they often sort of workshop it mid-year, and it looks totally different for the second half. But at least for now, Sam Highfill is going to be their bullpen guy.
I don't hate that. I mean, that's pretty legit. I didn't know you were going to say that. I had no idea you were going to say that. I thought you were going to say that he's on the roster listed as an infielder too, just because of his ABs against Vanderbilt a couple years ago in the World Series, because he raked, by the way. But, dude, I kind of like that a lot, man. That's, starting pitching is very important, and I think everybody knows that, especially really at any level. But for college baseball, I like the feeling of having your best arm be able to throw multiple times in a 3-game series. If NC State's playing against North Carolina, I don't want Sam Highfill just to throw 5 or 6 innings on Friday and then he's done the rest of the week. I want him to possibly throw one or two Friday, maybe have a day off Saturday and throw 1 or 2 Sunday. And then, during the week, you get your time off, you get your rest, and get back to it the following weekend. I don't hate that at all, man. I think Elliot's onto something here. And let me tell you, Elliot probably better than I do, but this dude, I mean, I love this guy. First of all, he's just a great man. But I think with him, the way that he thinks outside the box sometimes, like, people buy into it. And obviously Sam Highfill, he might want to be a starter for the rest of his life, but he's buying into it, right? Because it's for the better of the team. And man, I just got excited about that. That's really good news, man. I love it. And at the end of the day, it saves some bullets in your arm. That's what these guys don't understand. As a starting pitcher, you're throwing 100 pitches, and then you're throwing bullpens, and you don't even count your pitches, and then you're throwing again. Well, as a reliever, you come and throw 1 or 2 innings here and there, you're saving your bullets for later on.
Yeah, and whether that later on is the postseason or after you're done with your current college program, it's a tricky balance for any coach, right? And I think it's trickier than ever. I don't want to overspeak, but I would assume you would say it's far more complicated to manage now than it was when you were pitching at Miami, sort of managing this guy's got a chance to get drafted really high, but he also is a really, really big piece of what we're doing. How do I toe the line of getting the most out of him while he's here, but also not upsetting any kind of chance he has at a pro future?
Right. Well, and people need to understand, you can get drafted high as a reliever in college. Like, it's not impossible to do. If you've got a great arm and you get people out, obviously they draft people differently now than when they did when I was in the draft. But like, if they see your potential, they're still going to draft you. Andrew Abbott from Virginia, a few years ago before he got drafted, he was kind of back and forth. He was a reliever, then he became a starter his draft year. Then he gets drafted, I believe, in the second round by the Reds, and he's in big league camp this year with the Reds. So, you're not just going to get overlooked if you're a guy that's bounced back and forth. For me, I think Coach Morris, who was my head coach my junior year, my draft year, he made it easy for me. Like, he saw the writing on the wall, and he ended up keeping Jay Tesmer, the walk-on sidearm reliever. He was a setup guy, and I closed. And I was only good because he was great. You know what I mean? Like, Jay Tesmer was phenomenal that year, and then it made my job a lot easier, and it got me drafted in the 4th round. as a little 5'11" chubby Asian guy, So it's like I was not on people's radar. I was on one radar, Cleveland's, and they got me in the 4th round. But people need to understand, if you can pitch, you're going to get drafted. So it doesn't matter if you're a starter or reliever. But let me tell you, I love the fact that Highfield is going to be in the bullpen. I can't get over that.
I thought you might get a kick out of that.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm always excited to see what Elliott does with his bullpen.
Yeah.
Because he manages it so well, and he's moved guys like Evan Justice from rotation to that closer role where he had so much success the year they went to Omaha. Villeman's a great example of someone he used sort of as a Swiss Army knife, that type of guy. He's got Matt Willitson is still in the rotation.
Right.
I mentioned Caden Grice. It feels like Willitson has been in NC State forever.
Like 7 years now. I know the COVID year added an extra year for everybody, but I feel like Willitson, has been there forever.
Yeah, we've got more of those than ever now. Guys that just feel like they've been in their programs for much longer than they should be. But Willitson is one of those. I mean, he's a rubber arm in some cases, right? I mean, he threw.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact what it was exactly, but I had the North Carolina and NC State series in the COVID year. So we're calling it from a remote studio on the campus of UNC in Chapel Hill, and there was a rain delay. And if I'm not mistaken, Willitson threw something like, because they finished on a Saturday or a Sunday or a Monday, they finished the game that got paused. So it was like a 2.5 innings or something like that. And then played game 3. I think it was on a Monday. Now that I'm recollecting, and Elliott, by my recall, was not happy, to say the least, that they paused the game overnight, because that meant his if he had a starter in, I don't remember the exact case, but that person was burned. And he had Willitson set to go on Sunday. So he was like, you know what? We got 2 innings left. Willitson's going to finish this one and start the next one.
No way.
He threw a combined 10 innings in the day, Danny.
Oh my gosh.
And they came back and won the series, because I think Carolina won game 1. And I mean, it was just it was
That's
one of the
awesome.
better performances I'd ever seen.
That is so amazing.
It's a testament to Willitson. Like, he's got a lot of grit. It's the culture that Elliott creates there.
That's it right there, Daron. The culture that Elliott creates. I think the players buy into it so easily. Like, he doesn't have to convince them. Like a lot of head coaches at whatever level, well, maybe not the minor league level, because you kind of do whatever they tell you. At the big league level, they kind of talk you into doing different things. Like, hey, this might benefit you if you become a starter. This might benefit you. This will help the team if you do this, that. Elliott just has to say, and I don't know how the conversations go, but he's probably like, hey, Sam, hey, man, what do you think about going in the bullpen and throwing a few different games on the weekend and shut some people down? Sam's like, oh, that'd be awesome. I'd love to do that. It's that easy. I'm telling you. Elliott, I told Elliott last year at the ACC championship, I said, man, I wish I had eligibility left, because I'd love to play for you. He's such an amazing dude, man. So, whatever he says, it's going to work. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, let's get off of some of the teams we've been heavy on so far. We've got a couple more of these prompts, like the one team to go to Omaha. We'll get to those here in a second. What do you think about Wake Forest being alone atop the conference? We talked about sort of the usual suspects, and we know Wake usually hits. We know they've got 2 big-time starters coming back. The reigning, defending, somebody's going to nitpick how I say that, ACC Pitcher of the Year in Rhett Lauder is back for them. He'll be assumedly their Friday guy. Teddy McGraw is back for them. They return a lot of pieces in their lineup as well. But this is not really one of those usual players, right? They've had good stretches in the past, but to be 6th in the country and atop the ACC in the preseason, it's a little bit uncharted for them.
It is, but I think for reasons that you mentioned, Rhett Lauder, starting pitching is huge, and he was the best in the ACC, and I think he's going to continue to do that. But they have a lot of other guys. Cam Minacci, I feel like he's been there for like 7 years too, at the back end of the bullpen. But Nick Kurtz is only a sophomore. I feel like he's been there for a few years just mashing. And then, of course, Brock Wilken is the All-American third baseman. They have a lot of great pieces on this team. So I'm not shocked that they're that high. I just think that they're going to have to continue to prove that they deserve to be there,
Yeah. All right, let's do this. We'll talk individual players with this one. I've got a couple of this is the difficult one for me to answer, so I'll let you go first. Who's the player you expect to make the biggest year-to-year jump? So someone we saw last year who was back that you think is going to have the most improvement from year to year.
I know your answer, so I'll people know if they watched a lot of ACC last year, they know the man crush I had on this dude. The one that you're going to pick, and I'll elaborate after you do your spiel on him.
Okay.
So listen, I like Jack Hurley, man. I really like. He's such a pure hitter. I watched a lot of him. I did a lot of their games, and he flirted with 400 for most of the year. And can you get any better? Yeah, I think he can. I think. There were some holes in his swing later in the year. He kind of, I don't know if it's fatigue or if he just, whatever it was. I think an extra year, him coming back and that experience is like, okay, now I need to know what I have to do to flirt with 400 the whole year and not just the first 3 quarters of the year. I know what I need to do to help this team get through the regionals and not do what we did last year. And he's a great outfielder. I think he's very underrated as an outfielder. So right now he's my guy. I love Jack Hurley.
Yeah, I like that pick too. I got to know him a little bit more over the summer. He was with the collegiate national team, and it was one of those things too. I think with an emerging program like Virginia Tech, this is a theory, so just let me know what you think about it. With an emerging program like Virginia Tech, they now have a guy who's in a minor league system and he's got a rocket ship up his butt in Gavin Cross. He's going to be in the bigs in no time. He and Jack are tight. Jack was already good with Gavin there with him. Yeah. Is there something to, okay, I've got a close-knit friendship with a guy who's going through it at the next level? Is Jack gleaning something from Gavin just based on them talking about their experiences? Obviously, Jack wants to get better, so he's probably prodding Gavin for like, hey, what are they instructing you to do at the next level? How can I improve X, Y, or Z?
That very well could be happening. You say they're great friends, and to me, as competitors, great friends or not, I think Jack knows that it's his team now. It's not Gavin Cross Gavin Cross is not the number one prospect on this team. I think deep down, Jack Hurley says, "This is my team now. I'm going to show these guys who I am and who I'm going to be." And that's not a knock on Gavin, because I feel like Gavin got most of the attention, and he deserved most of the attention because he's so good. Like you said, he's going to be in the big leagues soon because he can hit. But so can Jack. And, I did a breakdown on him at some point last year and really slowed down. Now, my video skills aren't as great as many editors, but I tried to do it, and I tried to do it up in the Bristol studios with these guys. And
we got to get you a telestrator. That's what we need. That's all right. That's on the list.
That's dangerous. That's very dangerous. I've used one of those before, and I always forget to erase it. So it's like I got all these lines on my face when we come back to the screen. So the breakdown that I did, and I didn't even realize it watching him live so much, the breakdown, there's a lot of Bryce Harper in him. Now, and I'm not saying he's going to be the next Bryce Harper. Maybe I'll look for that, and I'll send it to you, Daron. You tell me if I'm crazy or not, but
I'd be curious to see that.
Yeah, there's a lot of Bryce Harper in his swing. Now, obviously the power, he's going to get more power. He's going to get bigger and stronger, this kid. But just the way that he approaches his at-bats, I'm telling you, the finish and the leg drive, it was eerily similar to Bryce Harper. So I got big expectations for Jack Hurley.
I love that pick. I realized calling his games with USA Baseball that he's got a tremendous eye and feel for the zone. Like he and Yo-Yo Morales in particular over the summer jumped out to me as, just because of their recognition of pitches and the way they use the strike zone to their advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those guys, it was like, okay, these are big league hitters. So I like that pick a lot. I had two names written down for mine, so I'm not 100% sure who you were alluding to with the man.
The second one.
It's an obvious one, right? So let me start with the not so obvious one.
Okay.
Alex Mooney was a true freshman starting at shortstop every day for the Duke Blue Devils in what was a strugglesome year for them, trying to keep up an ACC championship performance in the following season. And it wasn't a great year for them. I think their head coach, Chris Pollard, would be the first to tell you that.
Yeah.
Mooney showed so much promise. And by not even mid-year, you could have argued he was the best hitter on the team. Not to mention, as a true freshman, I mean, he's an electric fielder.
Right.
I mentioned I love
best shortstop in the ACC, right? That they've rated him as the best shortstop right now.
Yeah. And I think, I've mentioned already, I love Don Patelli and Patelli amongst some scouting friends. I've gotten Omar Vizquel comps out of for a Don Patelli, like pretty cool to even hear that sort of thing. Mooney is deservedly so regarded as the top shortstop in the ACC because he's an even better hitter than Patelli is. Yeah. But he struggled at the beginning, right? He had his woes and sort of growing pains as a true freshman in that spot. I think the jump from year 1 to 2 for Al Mooney is be as big as anybody's jump in the league.
Yeah.
That being said, I think, and it's obvious, and you just got to think about it. Vance Honeycutt's jump is going to be tremendous. Yeah. And if not for Tommy White, he was the ACC Player of the Year last year.
Yeah.
He's the preseason ACC Player of the Year this year. His great start to the season kind of got overlooked because of White and what he was doing at NC State, but Vance was scorching hot to begin the season.
But his start was different than Tommy White's, right? Like Tommy's was just the bombzillas left and right. Vance was just quietly just putting numbers up on the board. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, oh, hey, I've got 10 extra base hits and 10 stolen bases, and we've only played 5 games or whatever.
Right.
So, but there was that lull after that.
He had a problem with strikeouts.
First stretch, it was striking out, and he got moved. He got moved all over the lineup, right?
Yeah.
Scott Forbes, he went from the leadoff spot. He was down to 9 at one point. And then by the time the ACC tournament gets here, he's no longer a freshman, another true freshman. He's no longer a freshman, as they say, in that spot. Yeah. And he had the best tournament of anybody. Yeah. And I think, again, deservedly so. He's the ACC preseason Player of the Year. Yeah. Even if he gives you exactly what he gave you as a true freshman, he might win Player of the Year. But Danny, there's no way he only gives you what he gave you as a true freshman.
Right. He grew so much just in that last bit of the season, whether it's right before the ACC championship or during that or into the regionals. He grew so much bigger as a big time player. Like he wants the limelight. He won't say it, but he wants to shine, and he knows how to shine now. He cut down on his strikeouts. He's putting the ball in play, realizing that, okay, I've got power. I can hit it out to all parts of the field, no matter what pitch you throw me. But if I put it in play and don't strike out, I bet you I'm going to beat it out. And he does. I mean, this is a guy that could easily be a 30-30 guy in the college game. And I'm telling you, like, seriously, Daron, man crush. I was always finding ways to talk about him last year on shows. It was ridiculous. He probably thinks I'm a weirdo, but this dude
You
was
and me
so
both.
legit.
He's got a number of admirers. We'll call ourselves.
And I did say at one point last year that when he's draft eligible, he's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. I just threw it out there. I mean, he's got that kind of ability.
Yeah, and a great defender too. Like, I mean,
yeah,
we gloss over that. A fantastic defender. I mean, he's the epitome of a 5-tool guy. And,
well, he robbed that home run in the regionals.
Yep.
To the end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he made it look so easy. Like he glides. He's so graceful running after balls.
Yeah. I mean, just a tremendous athlete. He's one of those legacy guys at North Carolina too. Reese Holbrook's another one on their team that's a legacy Tar Heel. So no, I'm excited to see what they've got in the bag this season. North Carolina, they're of those ranked ACC teams we talked about. They're second to Wake Forest at number 12 in the preseason rankings. I'll have some of their series again, just being local.
Right.
It's an easier one for me to get to. So I'm really excited to see some more of them this year. I mean, there's so much. You said it off the top, man. There's so much talent in this conference. I think fans are, especially if you're an NC State fan, you're inclined to sort of bemoan Tommy White's transfer to LSU. And yes, that is a talented hitter that has left the conference. But look, you don't need to go too far outside of the ACC if you want to see really, really, really good players. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun to keep track of and see who's got the biggest jump. All right, so you're listening to us wherever or watching us on YouTube here. We also have some social media stuff that we're working on right now. We're on Twitter, Instagram, at ACCBSBETC. It's one big alphabet soup. But that's the handle on both. And on Twitter, we see, Danny, we as a now bona fide media outlet here at ACC Baseball, et cetera, did not really have our stuff together in time to give out preseason awards, but we still wanted in on the mix. Yeah. So we put out an all points bulletin to ACC baseball programs on Twitter for nominees for the best media day pose. And again, this is in part, for some of you, it's an audio medium. So to explain what a media day pose is, the promotional shots of the players. Sometimes it goes on their bio page on the website. When a photographer shows up and they've got a backdrop and, you do your cheesy thing with the bat on your shoulder, or maybe it's a guy who's like leaning in for the sign if he's a pitcher and he's got the glove up at his chest here. It's very common to have some fun on days like that, right? So
you should, yes.
Yeah, you should. So we've gotten some good nominees, right? We've got Duke sent in a nomination of a tandem, and it's Aaron Beasley and Josh Solomon, I believe, are the two players, and they're sort of gazing afar. So Beasley is stood up and he's pointing in one direction. Almost looks like he's calling a shot, but he doesn't have a bat. And then knelt down in front of him is Solomon, who's using the bat as a prop, and he makes it look like he's looking through a telescope. So I thought that was pretty good, especially with unidentified flying objects being pertinent in the news. Yeah. Oh, they found two more. But I think the front runner, I think the leader in the clubhouse now is Virginia's Kyle Teal and Jake Geloff having a literal sword fight in one of the photos. That's a lot of fun. But we need more submissions for this award, and we've heard from all of the athletic communications people at every team. They're well aware that we're doing this with our show and with the best media post. We need a little more cooperation. We need some submissions to work with.
So what Daron is saying that is we're here to promote you guys, so get on it. I mean, I get alerts from every team in the ACC, every baseball team, that when they tweet something, and I've only seen 2 of these photo things. So let's go. Let's pick it up. We want to promote everybody. We don't want to just do it for our laughter. We want to promote you guys as much as we can. So please submit them, get them out there. Maybe we'll have to find some kind of a prize for them, Darren. Like,
we could get a plaque made, and maybe get the photo somehow put
or a championship belt.
Ooh,
that's
all right. Okay, we're gonna
workshop that something there.
Yeah, we're gonna workshop that one off the air. But
let me ask you real quick though, Darren.
Yeah.
Like, so once the media day photo, say all the teams send it in and we pick a winner, are we gonna do something different every week?
Maybe we'll have to follow that up with something like an ongoing award, because who says all the awards have to be in the preseason and the postseason? We could have mid-season awards.
Yeah, well, there's monthly awards.
Yeah,
player of the month. We can do photo of the month. I don't know. Something.
We're figuring it out. It out. And I think
we take suggestions.
Your point is well taken, Danny. That look, at the end of the day, we both love ACC baseball. We're here to promote the league. So if you are one of those athletic communications people that's listening, we're your friend. Send us stuff. We will peddle whatever as long as it's pertaining to ACC baseball. We are here to help. We love the league. We want to see it thrive. It's fine without us. We know that, but we want to pump it up and be able to get people hyped up as hyped up about ACC baseball as we are.
That's right.
All right. Well, let's close things out, Danny, for episode 1 here of ACC baseball, etc. Right. This is a segment we're going to finish out every show with. You were the prolific closer in your career. So I think it's appropriate that you close, using my air quotes, every show with what I'm going to call the Hall of Name. And you're going to give us a small look into your experiences as both a college and professional player when we do this. Basically, here's how it goes. I pick a former teammate of yours. Anyone. Baseball Reference is a hell of a thing. I can find any team you ever played on and pinpoint a former teammate. So just word association, name association. Mm-hmm. I'm going to name a player. You're going to tell me the first story, interaction, anecdote, whatever that comes to mind. All right?
Okay. I have somebody in mind, but if you say it, this is really weird if you say it. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. We're going to start with all those years with the Reds. I think we're gonna start with some of the more obvious ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Ken Griffey Jr.
So he was one of the ones that I thought you were going to say. It was either him or Charles Johnson. If we were to go to college, I thought you would go with Charles Johnson. So Ken Griffey Jr., great teammate. There's one story that I'll tell about him, probably only one that I can tell publicly. So one spring training, I just bought a Ferrari 360 Spider, a red one, almost like Magnum PI. I thought I was so cool back then. I don't know. So convertible too. Well, he just bought a Porsche Carrera GT. So it was one of the new ones that were made of all fiberglass, one of the lightest cars made. It was like $500,000 at the time. But he was a part owner of a Porsche dealership, so he probably got it for nothing. Anyways, so we're both pulling out of spring training, Sarasota, Florida, out of the parking lot, and I just screamed at him. I said, "Do you want to race?" So before I let him answer, I took off, and I'm going 100 in 4 seconds. Like that, he flies by me and is gone. I don't even see him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? We're in the middle of Sarasota, Florida, where there's a bunch of retired people living here, and there's no long streets, and we're racing our cars. Could you imagine if one of us got hurt? Oh my gosh. So anyways, that was the story. We raced our cars, and he blew me away, and I knew he was gonna, but that's why I cheated and I tried to get a head start. But years later, Joey Votto, the first time I met Joey Votto was at a Reds Fest during the off season, and he said, "Hey, I gotta know. There's this rumor that you and Ken Griffey Jr. raced your cars." And I said, "That rumor is very true," and I lost. So I got no shame in telling people that I lost. I have no shame at all.
So you've got a reputation. Griff wasn't even he wasn't just racing anybody, right? Like it's a story that's being passed down at Red Spring Training, evidently.
Yes, yeah. Whoever's talking about it, they're keeping the story alive. But I'm totally fine with losing anything to Ken Griffey Jr.
as most in the league pretty much had to be.
Yes,
right?
yes,
like
yeah.
You just got to be okay with it.
Yeah, but he's a great dude, man. People don't understand how awesome of a guy he is. He'll do anything for you. Oh, okay. I know you said only one thing, but another quick thing. Last year, I was doing the Southwest Regional in the Little League World Series, and there was a kid from Mississippi. There are a couple kids that really loved Ken Griffey Jr. Both of them, one wore number 24, one wore number 30. So the kid that wore number 30, Taj Prater is his name, and left-handed hitter. He hits a 3-run jack in like the bottom of the 5th inning to take the lead. They end up winning the game. And so I call up Junior and I said, hey, dude, this kid like loves you to death. Do you mind just like saying hello to him? And he's like, yeah, I'm in the car. So, I'll talk to him. Put me on speakerphone. So he gets on speakerphone. He's talking to this kid and the whole team is around. And next thing you know, he puts on the FaceTime. So Junior's FaceTiming with all these kids. And I'm like, dude, y'all get to FaceTime with him? I don't FaceTime with him. I just talk or text, but he's FaceTiming with you guys right now?
Hold up. Okay, so Ken Griffey Jr. blows by you when you're going 100 miles per hour at one point. And of course, that was long ago. He was a much younger man.
Right.
He's FaceTiming while driving now?
I shouldn't have said that he was driving. But yeah, I mean, he had his phone like.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I think it's cool that he would I assume he's being a safe driver now, as opposed to it's not like he's FaceTiming while driving 100 miles per hour.
No. His wife was in the car with him.
It's the added touch with the kid, right? It's like you want to do the extra thing, like you said. He's not FaceTiming you, but knowing that it's a kid who admires him, he makes sure that I'm going to let him see my face too. That's cool. That's cool.
But see, you just made it a point of the driving. I didn't even think about that. He was FaceTiming and driving at the same time. I think he had it on the stand.
On a dock,
the Uber drivers do. So he wasn't like holding it. I hope he wasn't holding it. I don't know, man.
Look, Ken Griffey Jr. gets the benefit of the doubt always. I assume he was handling it in a safe manner. It's a very cool gesture to say hey to the kid and be on FaceTime with a kid playing in the Little League World Series who admires him. That's cool. That's really cool.
Ironically, the kid's dad, Taj's dad, grew up in Cincinnati as a Ken Griffey Sr. fan.
Wow.
Which I didn't know. I didn't know at the time. Yeah.
All right. So Griff made a couple of days, undoubtedly, with that.
Yeah,
that's really, really cool.
Sure.
All right. That's an excellent justification for my bananas concept for a closing segment. That's been the Hall of Name with Danny Graves. And we'll close things out here on ACC Baseball, etc. just by reminding you we're on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at ACCBSB, ETC on each of those. Wherever you listen to us, rate and review. Apple, Spotify, wherever. We'll find it. Give us 5 stars and make it appropriate for air. And we'll read it on show, right? Like if somebody gives us 5 stars, I'm compelled to give them a shout out, read it on the air, and show them some love. So as long as you're okay with that, Danny, I think that's a thing that we should normally do.
Yeah, and I'm okay with constructive criticism. Just don't get me.
Yeah. And you know what? 5 stars, but constructive criticism in the comments, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's all. Let's help each other here. That's
right. We're all learning. We're all learning.
We're figuring it out as we go. This is ACC Baseball, etc. A lot of fun for our first go round, and we're going to do this weekly to talk about the ACC series what's coming up from here on out. Excited to talk to you guys for the entirety of the college baseball season. For Danny Graves, I'm Daron Vaught. We'll see you next week.